This morning I want to share with you two commentaries that, at least to my mind, I believe are companions to each other, even though they were written quite far apart in time and place. But they focus on the opening verse of this week's parasha, which says, Va-yeilekh Moshe, Va-yedaber et hadvarim ha'ele el kol Yisrael. And Moshe went, and he spoke all of these things to all of Israel. And both commentaries begin with the same note. Lo katuv la'an halach. It doesn't say where Moshe went. It just says that he went. And so, in Minyan shel Torah, an early 20th century commentary written by Rabbi Alexander Zisha Friedman, he says, Ela sofa pasuk mochiach al tchilato. That if you read the whole pasuk, the end of it answers the question about where Moshe went at the beginning that was left unstated. And he says, Va-yeilekh Moshe el kol Yisrael. He sort of drops out the middle. He says, Moshe went to all of Israel. Nichnas letoch libam v'rucham shel kol Yisrael. That Moshe entered the heart, the soul, the spirit of every Jewish person. Betoch toho shel kol adam Yisrael, bedamo uvenishmato, bechol hatkufot v'chol hazmanim nimtza nitzot shel Moshe Rabbeinu. That inside each and every Jew, throughout time, across the generations, in their blood, in their very soul, in their very essence, there is a spark of Moshe Rabbeinu. That the teaching that Moshe did permeates the fiber and the fabric of the Jewish people throughout time. And on one level, it struck me as a very powerfully true statement. Some of us, if we are particularly diligent about such things, we can talk about our parents and our grandparents, maybe our great-grandparents, but at a certain point our knowledge of our family tree kind of peters out. Whereas Moshe has embedded himself into the fiber and the psyche of the Jewish people. We talk about Moshe in a myriad of ways, in a myriad of times. We talk about Zot Torah, Sher Sa Moshe. This is the Torah that Moshe brought to us as a people. And in bringing it to us, both Moshe and Torah entered into the essence of the Jewish people. So it just struck me as a very powerful image of how you create a certain amount of eternality for yourself. And Moshe accomplished it because of his bringing us the Torah. Which leads to the second comment that I wanted to share with you. Again, asking the same question about where did Moshe go, recognizing the verb Va-yeilekh is not specified in a direction. The second comment is by Rabbi Yitzchak Karo, late 15th century, and an uncle of the very famous Rabbi Yosef Karo, who was the author of the Shulchan Aruch, amongst other texts. And his comment is, Ki lechol makom shehalach diber et hadvarim ha'ele. That wherever Moshe went, he spoke words of Torah. He spoke these words of Torah. B'barachov, b'masa umatan, ba'avodah, b'iskei haprat u'b'tzibur, b'chol makom hechdir et dvar Adonai. And so he gives this list of where you use words of Torah, where you speak words of Torah, where you put them into action. He mentions in the street, in business, in worship, in private matters, and in public matters. And he essentially says that the reason it says Va-yeilekh Moshe without a definition is that wherever Moshe went, he took Torah with him and he actualized it. He brought it into the real world. So if Moshe was walking down the street, he was guided in his interactions with people by words of Torah. If Moshe engaged in business matters, he was guided by words of Torah. If Moshe was engaged with members of family in a private way, in a private matter, he was guided by the Torah. And so therefore, Rabbi Caro is essentially using Moshe as a foil for how we need to operate with Torah, how we need to use it. It's not just something to be studied on a Thursday morning over breakfast, but it's something that we should take with us when we leave breakfast and into all the various encounters that we have during the day with family, with friends, with neighbors, with strangers, with people we engage in business, and in the entire gamut of our lives. And in that way, he says Moshe is the paradigm and the model, and that's how Moshe continues to enter into the lives of the Jewish people, and it is how we become exemplars of Torah in our own lives and worthy successors to Moshe.